in their veins. Mackie and Judd on SKOR North and SKORNorth.com.
Reckless speculation.
It's Reckless Speculation Thursday here.
Reckless speculation.
Yeah, it's our favorite day of the week. We are so enamored with Reckless Speculation that we have scheduled it weekly minimum, and then sometimes even give you a Monday Reckless Speculation here. We can't quit it. It's a lifestyle.
I feel like more people are jumping on the lifestyle choice as well. Don't you guys? It feels like more and more people are coming around to our side of, like, 3 years ago, 2 years ago, our guy Royce, right? That's never going to happen.
I'm not going to talk about it until it happens.
Like, how many times did he used to say that? He now comes in with things like, I think Byron Buxton's not happy here.
I think they're going to trade Berrios. And that was a month ago.
Yeah. So I'd like to just say, welcome aboard, one and all.
We need to get him to cut one of these. Reckless.
You know what? That's a great idea.
Speculation.
But the point is, whenever you make the decision to come aboard, come aboard.
Yeah.
There's plenty of room.
Don't be afraid, okay? I know sometimes it's weird to talk and think and speculate on things that may have a smaller percentage chance of happening, but it's all we really have here. We don't have championships. The Lynx, thank you very much, but it's been 30 years. So let's start with, we're going to get Doogie on the show again today from the 5 Eyewitness News Sports Department. We're going to get into some old tweets exposed as Declan digs into the internet. But let's do a little Twins trade rumor roundup, if you guys would indulge here. The latest on Twins trade speculation. So this is from ESPN.com's David Schoenfeld. And I would say, so we've now created the 3 different color levels of reckless speculation, right? There's yellow, which is more just theorizing. There's orange, which is, all right, there's some smoke here. There's definitely, there's some reporting and some chatter and some sources.
Ben Simmons is orange, right?
Yep, Ben Simmons is
that's
orange.
That's a good orange one.
Yep. And then red would be like the Woj bomb. These talks are happening.
Yeah.
Shefty bomb. My sources are telling me. My sources, yes. So this is probably more like yellow into orange here from David Schoenfeld, ESPN.com. Quote, the most valuable potential trade piece for the Twins could wind up being Taylor Rogers, one of the top lefty relievers in Major League Baseball. He's under team control for another season, 2022. But he'd fill a need for just about every playoff contender. I'll add this one, then we can just discuss amongst ourselves. This is from our friend John Morosi, MLB.com and Network Insider. The Yankees, he believes, could make a, quote, major bid for Twin starter Jose Berrios at the trade deadline.
Reckless speculation.
The Rogers thing is interesting because as Schoenfeld gets into here, at the trade deadline, it's not as much about who the best players are that might be available. It's about who needs what positions, right? And almost every team in contention needs another reliever. Like, is there any team in Major League Baseball right now that looks and says, we have 8 lights-out studs in our bullpen. We are ready to plow through the playoffs with full confidence. I would venture to guess that even the best teams in baseball are looking at their bullpen saying, all right, we could probably, especially now that we can't use spider tag anymore, we could probably use another reliable arm out there. So in terms of, which player on the Twins trade block would garner the most interest, Taylor Rogers might be number 1. And Berrios is probably 2, and then Nelson Cruz is probably last because half the league can't trade for him, and then the other half of the American League isn't contending. And so it's like a really small slice of Major League Baseball that would even want a designated hitter. So what are your guys' thoughts?
My thoughts are this. When it comes to Berrios and Rogers in particular, who I both believe are slated to hit free agency after the 2022 season, this is why privately the Twins need to find out, can we sign them? Because if the answer is, you know what, I'm going to market. I mean, I think Berrios might flat out say, I'm going to market, because he could get something huge. And if he's going to do that, right now is the time to shop him. Right now is because we don't know if we're going to have a 2022, and if we do, when's it going to start, right? Because it's almost certainly, if you're being realistic about this not going to start on time. So to me, the most important thing that the Twins need to be doing right now, and if they're not, it's almost baseball malpractice contractually, is finding out about those two players in particular, what it's going to take to lock them up. And hell, if you can lock them up now, that's absolutely fine. If you can't, I shop them both. And I think that there's going to be teams that would pay a big price for Berrios. And Rogers, again, he'd be a guy that you theoretically would be getting for the pennant race in 2021 and then be theoretically, again, getting for all of 2022. So I take this as a no-brainer. You have to shop them if they are telling you behind the scenes, you can bid on me, but a lot of people are going to, because that's the place, Phil, that you can't take the chance. And as much as we want to pound the table and talk about the cheap poll ads and they don't spend and blah, 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 guess what? Unless you can get the Josh Donaldson contract off the books, the fact of the matter is contracts like that are going to figure into the thinking. Like they're not going to say, it's a capless league, who cares? The majority of teams in this league don't say that. So all of this leads me down the path that if you don't feel, or you've been flat out told it's going to be tough to sign one or both of those guys, good business is to shop them right now. And my guess is, without tweeting it every single time, that's what guys like Morosi and Schoenfeld are thinking as well, or probably more likely being told.
You want more? I got more here for you guys.
Oh, boy.
I got more.
How reckless is it?
It's,
Can you OD?
Speculation.
Jesus.
All right, this is from fansided.com, and it's a recap. It's an MLB trade rumors recap from, I want to say, like Tuesday this week. It's MLB trade rumors season, and both the Cardinals and the Twins have reportedly begun trade discussions ahead of the deadline. The Twins are in the middle of an abysmally awful season, and as the deadline approaches, it's becoming more and more likely they end up as sellers. That's great news for the Cardinals, who, after losing ace Jake, it's Jack Flaherty, I believe. They called him Jake here, if you're wondering about the credibility of this author, have begun to crater in a very winnable NL Central race. The Cardinals need starting pitching, and the Twins appear to have exactly that. And so naturally, the two sides are in the beginning stages of talking about potential deals. According to MLB insider Robert Murray, the Cardinals and the Twins have begun the process of talking about trades, although the needle isn't moving quite yet. And this is from the article that Robert Murray wrote. Indeed, the Cardinals and the Twins have had trade discussions, sources said, with talks described as preliminary and more of a, quote, feeling out more than anything. So Twins are feeling things out here in the last couple weeks of June.
So the Cardinals list, if we were to look at potential starting candidates for them, the Cardinals list would have Berrios, I think, probably within their top three. But I think the guy atop that list is, if I'm not mistaken, a Missouri native, Max Scherzer. So I think they would start with Scherzer, but Berrios would.
You're saying that they would try and trade for Scherzer?
Yes. I'm saying the Cardinals wish list would probably have Berrios within, I think it'd be realistic to say, the top three, right? But Scherzer would probably be atop that list, but that's going to take a ton to get. So, yeah, I think that the Blue Jays, the Yankees, the Cardinals, there's probably
Tampa.
the Granlunds, the Niederreiters. There's probably, what, six to eight teams? 6 teams?
Yeah, and I will say, like, before we, I am on team contract extension here for Jose Berrios and Byron Buxton. There is no salary cap. I understand that there are constraints that it's not realistic to expect professional sports owners to take losses year after year. And so in baseball, your salary cap is really just like the revenue cap on your franchise. And the Twins are nowhere near the top of the league in revenue, and that's why they're nowhere near the top of the league in payroll. It's pretty simple. So with that said, I understand that you can't just, like, the Twins aren't just going to dole out contract after contract. They have to be picky and strategic with the contracts they dole out. Jose Berrios is a guy that ideally you'd have in your rotation for the next 3 to 5 years in his prime, and cross your fingers and hope he doesn't get hurt. Just because he's not an ace doesn't mean he's a failure and shouldn't be signed. And I think some people are sort of in that mindset, well, he's not an ace. and so he's a failure. It's like, no, he's a really good starting pitcher. And by the way, he was pretty damn good in 5 lights-out innings in the playoffs last year against the Houston Astros. So, and they pulled him from the game probably earlier than he needed to be pulled because Rocco has just an obsession with putting mediocre relievers in third time through the order, right? So I would be aggressively looking to sign him to an extension, although Berrios' camp has a ton of leverage right now because they can just sit there and say, oh, we're happy to go to free agency in a year and a half.
Yeah.
And then Buxton, like that conversation can be tabled till the offseason now because obviously he's not going to be traded while he's on the injured list. So we can have that conversation later. But I would still be looking to sign Berrios as opposed to trade him, but I'm in on having these conversations.
And if you can get what would you need back in the area for Taylor that would make you trade him? Because that one does intrigue me because I think that you could get a lot.
I do too. I mean, think about that. This is 10 years ago, and so it's kind of apples to oranges. But remember, when the Twins traded for Matt Capps, who was not as good of a reliever 10 years ago as Taylor Rogers is now, they gave up one of their top 10 overall prospects and one of the top catching prospects in baseball in Wilson Ramos. And at the time, Joe Nathan had gone down before the season with Tommy John surgery, and the Twins had a really good team that just needed some more back-end bullpen help. And they were so desperate for anyone. Like, they weren't trading for Mariano Rivera in his prime. They were trading for Matt Capps, and they gave up Wilson Ramos. So teams get oddly desperate for relief pitching help, and the fact that he has a year and a half left on his deal, just like Matt Capps did in 2010, somebody will give up more than you think for Taylor Rogers out of desperation. So I would 100% trade Taylor Rogers, like no questions asked. I have no interest in signing him to an extension. You should not be looking to sign 30-year-old relievers to big money extensions. Like, it's just not good. Not a good way to operate your payroll. So I would 100% trade Taylor Rogers.
If you can get like the top, like a third best organizational prospect for him, I would. I don't see any team. I don't see any team giving up a 1 or 2 prospect for Taylor.
What do you mean by that?
Third.
There's no team will ever give up their top prospect for a reliever, though.
Well, but the point is with the Twins and Wilson Ramos, they did do that. That was 11 years ago, but they did do that for Matt Capps.
Ramos at the time was probably like their 5th or 6th best organizational prospect when they gave him up. So Aaron Hicks was above him, Ben Revere was above him, and then they had a couple pitchers that were. If you look at that list now, it's like, it's a who's who of sort of failed prospects. But he was probably like their 5th best prospect. Yeah.
But I would entertain a Taylor Rogers extension. I think he's your best reliever. I know he's going to be entering his age 30, or he is 30 right now. But I would entertain. I think Doogie even in our last scoop said, "Would you give 3 years, $24 million for Taylor Rogers?" And I would do that contract.
Wow,
I would do that contract.
But if you could get another team's 5th best prospect for him, I'd do that before the contract extension.
I wouldn't hate it either. I wouldn't die on the hill of extending him, but I am interested in it.
This is just kind of like what I would worry about with an extension is this is about the age and number of successful years in a row where relievers start to hit the cliff. You know, you have 4 or 5 really good years in a row, and you're 30. You know, it gets really, really shaky after that. And we saw him; he was shaky last year. You know. He's a really good reliever, but he's not like this elite
dominant.
Lights out dude. He's not like Aroldis Chapman or Josh Hader, and he's just going to be amazing for 10 years. I think it's a great opportunity to just sell high on a guy. I would actually be very wary about giving him $7 or $8 million a year if it took away from my ability to do some other things. But then again, like to Declan's point, who's pitching next year for this team?
Yeah.
Like they don't have any. If they trade Berrios and Taylor Rogers, it's like you're basically punting on 2022. So
yeah, but I think baseball's going to punt on that year as well. So I wouldn't worry about it too much.
Well, front offices aren't thinking, well, there's going to be a lockout that ruins baseball, so let's make dumb decisions at the deadline.
Perhaps
this
the
year.
Twins should bring me on board as a consultant who can tell them there's going to be a lockout. Don't worry about it.
Just send Dave St. Peter your hourly rate for the consultant fee.
You're not starting the season, let's say that.
All right, we're going to get into some old tweets exposed here. Our Twins discussions every day are brought to you by our friends at Dennis Kirk and DennisKirk.com. If you're looking to ride off into the trade deadline sunset, with or without Taylor Rogers. Jose
Berrios going to get on the bike?
He is.
He's going to get on
I bet he's
the
partakes.
Harley, the sport bike, or the Metro Cruiser. Which one's he going to get on?
Well, whatever he rides, you can find what you need at DennisKirk.com. 160,000 parts and accessories in stock, clothing and helmets as well. And if you order by 8 p.m., they ship the same day, and shipping is free for orders over $89. When the open road calls, DennisKirk.com is the answer. They ship today. All right, Declan, you're going to ruin our reputations here with some old tweets exposed.
We've done that already. Don't worry about
that's
it.
no problem.
Declan's not going to do a thing to hurt it any more than it's been hurt.
Not at all. You know what? On Tuesday and Wednesday's Purple Daily Show, we spent a lot of talk on kickers. A lot of talk on Greg Joseph and Vikings kickers. So
we did.
It's a Blair Walsh edition of old tweets exposed.
Oh, yeah.
We'll go in chronological order, actually. Start with Judd Zulgad.
Oh, boy.
December 31st, 2012, Blair Walsh continues to be the Vikings' Mr. Clutch, plus plenty of other notes from today's game. Now, this was after the Week 17 win, but Mr. Clutch, Blair Walsh.
So this was after...
Column, 1:23 a.m.
Why was I up so late?
You're Judd, and you were probably working the game.
I was
it was a night
pounding.
game. I think it was the Sunday night game.
This was Leslie Frazier era Vikings football here, too.
Yeah.
So this was Blair Walsh's rookie year.
Yeah.
Yep.
He was 10
great
for 10
that year.
from downtown.
He was good.
And
Mr.
then
Clutch.
2013 was Leslie's last year. So Blair Walsh's meltdown playoff thing was like the third year of his career then? Because it was Mike Zimmer's?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
He got
It might have been
great-
further than that. Because Zimmer didn't make
it
the
was year
playoffs
four.
in year one.
Yeah.
So it was year 4.
2015.
Yeah. Wow.
All right. Well,
He
that's
is super clutch, though. I agree with Judd.
He was really clutch back then.
Mr.
Okay. I take an early lead, but I haven't seen your guys yet.
All right. Bill Mackey. December 11th, 2015. I'm all for trying to rack up an extra 10 to 12 yards on that third down play because Blair Walsh, like most kickers, is better when close.
I love how you abbreviated kickers
Yeah.
despite the fact you had plenty of characters left.
Did I, though? This was 140 character Twitter.
Yeah, this is 100. Yep.
This is back in the day.
You're just
this
being
is,
a good-
it used to be just 140 characters.
Was it
So I'm
140?
Yeah.
All
It's
right.
280 now. They doubled it
Yeah,
a few years
they
ago.
doubled it up.
Yeah.
But better when closer. And then 3 weeks later, because this was tweeted December 11th, 2015. So yeah, so then, like 3 weeks later on a pooch kick, just a little bit wide
Okay,
left.
wait a second. So I tweeted this. Hold on a second.
Okay.
Was this tweeted before he missed the 27-yarder?
Yeah. This
Yeah.
is
Okay.
this is the 2015 season.
During the season.
and then
okay.
it was the wild card game would be next month.
That's amazing foreshadowing right there. He's so much better when
Better
closer.
when
Just
closer.
Now, in fairness, if you get him inside 27 yards, I think he's fine. But it's a little shaky around that 27-yard
God
mark.
almighty.
All right, let's see it.
Mine's not too bad. Mine's not too egregious for once. But November 8th, 2015, where the Blair
Oh, that's
Haters
pretty
at?
bad.
This is bad.
No, that's
This is
pretty bad.
before.
No,
You're-
that's bad.
This is before.
You're thumping your chest, dude. This
Yeah,
is
you are
amazing.
taking a victory lap on Blair Walsh.
But this was before Mackey's tweet. This is now 2 months before the missed kick. I don't think this is as egregious as Phil's.
Oh, these are all pretty bad. So we've got
Yeah.
They're all
Judd
bad.
calling Blair Walsh Mr. Clutch.
Which
we've got me saying how great Blair Walsh is. He's so
When
much more
closer.
reliable, close range. But then there's Declan thumping his chest and saying,
Yeah.
where are the
Blair
Blair
haters-
haters at
haters
now? 2 months
Dec-
before he missed a 27-yarder.
The Declan Goff victory lap here is awesome. Like you're literally
I
taking
just-
a victory lap. Hey, where they at? Where you at, Blair Walsh haters?
So, all right, I will say I think all three of these are definitely incriminating. I'm going to give Judd's a little bit more of a pass because his article was like Blair was like
timing.
10 for 10 from
Yep.
50 yards. And at the time,
I think he was an all-pro kicker that year.
yeah.
He went to the Pro Bowl, I think. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Boy, I think it's between Declan and I for who's got it worse here. Judd, you can make the decision.
They're both pretty good. They're delicious because of the year that they came out and right before
Months.
this.
Weeks, not even months. Weeks.
I'm going to give it to Phil based on this. The proximity thing of where the kick came from, and then the fact that he missed a 27-yard attempt, which is basically what Phil's saying is, get it within 25, 27 yards and be perfect.
He'll be fine.
They're going to Arizona to play the Cardinals, second round. Bring it on. Teddy Bridgewater.
All right, so that's old tweets exposed here every single Thursday. We just make sure that our credibility is in check here on
Oh,
this show.
boy.
All All right, Reckless Speculation Thursday will continue with our friend Darren Doogie Wolfson from 5 Eyewitness News. Inside information about your favorite local sports teams.